Guys, what's going on? So today in this video we're going to be unboxing 3 brand new things that I just got from Tackle Supply Depot. That's actually not the sticker I got with the thing. I actually didn't get a sticker this time. That's kind of weird. I didn't realize that until right now. It might be in the envelope that I don't remember though. So the first things that I got in this order, there was 3 things and I needed all 3. Well, one of them I didn't need, 2 of them I did. One of them I just really wanted. So you guys may remember that bait in a video that I talked about. I talked about that bait a little while back in the video, and I finally got my hands on one. But we're going to first talk about these hooks right here. So these are Gamakatsu 2-aught super line hooks. Now, a lot of people don't think that the size of hook matters. When I'm fishing a Dox Lure Company boomstick or a small light flipping bait, you know, with an 1/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce bullet weight, these hooks are easily my favorite hooks. I used to buy these all the time at my local Walmart, and then my local Walmart decided to stop selling them, which I was very bummed out about. But I ended up buying some off of eBay at Tackle Supply Depot. 2-aught Gamakatsu EWG hooks, easily in my opinion, easily the best EWG hooks I've ever used for sure. I've never bent one out. Even though they're only a 2-aught and I've hooked up into some pretty big things, I've broke line before I bent the hooks. I've never bent one. I've thrown 50-pound braid and hooked into literally a whole size dock and never bent the hook. I ended up breaking the line. So that kind of tells you there how tough these hooks are. Gamakatsu, in my opinion, is one of the toughest hook brands there is. Now, I know a lot of people like the Owner hooks. Now, I've only used a few different Owner hooks. I've used the Owner Beast hook for the 6-inch swim bait, and I've used the Owner mosquito hooks for bluegill fishing, and I've also used another type of Owner hook. They were 6-aught weightless swim bait hooks, which are pretty darn good hooks. I do like those. But in my opinion, as far as EWG hooks go, Gamakatsu hooks are, in my opinion, the best. The next thing we got are these guys right here. So there's only 2 in a pack, and I believe they're tungsten, or they're partially tungsten. I know some of it is lead, but I believe that part of it is tungsten. That's why they were so expensive for only 2. But these are, if I can ever get them out of the freaking package, one of these days we'll get it. All right, wanted to just get one, but got both of them. These are flipping jig heads. Now you guys can obviously see there's no skirt on these. These are actually for bare flipping baits. Basically, you know, you take something like this guy right here and you thread it on there and you flip it around. You know, these are more made for trees and stuff like that, but I'm not going to use it for baits like that. I probably will eventually, but the main thing that I bought these for is for this guy right here. Look at this. Look at how well this thing pairs up with that swim bait. I mean, it looks perfect. I can't wait to start flipping that swim bait around some tree limbs and stuff with this jig head. This is a, I don't remember I think I took the sticker off. I took the sticker off that said the brand name. But these are, I think, tungsten. They're actually a 1/4 ounce, which, being as small as they are, I believe they're tungsten, because if you look at this, this is a 1/4 ounce lead weight compared to that 1/4 ounce head. They might factor in this here. Maybe that is what makes it a 1/4 ounce. Maybe it is lead. I don't know. It says on the back here that it does contain lead, but I know a lot of tungsten weights do put a little bit of lead in it, so I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It doesn't say tungsten anywhere on the package or on the description of the bait, so I don't really know, but these are really good. I love flipping a bare jig like that with just a small flipping bait. Something like the Dox Lure Company Mud Crawler will definitely come into play with this bait. I think that'll be a really good bait to throw that. Only 2 in a package. They're black head. I think that's the only color they had. And they got a pretty stiff weed guard, so I'll probably be throwing this with like 20-pound or 12-pound mono, more than likely is what I'll be throwing this with. But mainly the reason I got them is for a weedless swim jig and a weedless flipping jig for swim baits and small creatures. So the next thing is something I've been wanting to get my hands on ever since I heard about them making it. So this bait was, if I remember correctly, an iCast 2018 brand new bait. I think is when it came out, was in iCast. I'm really excited about this bait. One thing that I will be doing with this bait is probably taking the split ring off the nose, because I like to run my walking baits without split rings. But first thing we're going to talk about is the two other ones. Actually, I have a lot more than two. I think I have 3 other ones from this company. Now, they make them in 3 different sizes. Okay, here's the small one. Strike King Sexy Dog Jr. This is in Chrome Sexy Shad. Then they make the bigger one, which you guys can see this thing has been torn up. You guys have seen me talk about this bait more than any other bait I make or even sell. But this guy right here, Sexy Dog, the main one. And then this. So you guys can see here, compared to my hand, it is a giant bait. Now, it's not the longest bait, but it is the heaviest coming in at a full 2 ounces. So that is a pretty darn big walking bait. So I'm pretty excited about this thing. And here in a second, we'll talk about why I bought it and what I'm going to be doing with it. But this bait, I'm really excited about this thing. I wanted to do this video so many times, but I wasn't able to because I didn't have the bait yet. So I'm finally got the bait, and I'm going to go ahead and do this video. So if you guys can remember, go way back in my videos, there's a pond that I fished quite a bit. You guys can go back and find that pond. There is a pond that me and my cousin Bob and Zach fish, Big Bait Baker, you guys know him. I've caught a lot of turtles. We've caught a lot of yellow belly. That's where I caught my first ever yellow belly catfish. That's also where I broke my personal best green sunfish hybrid on the 1.5. And I also kind of done that in my pond as well. I never weighed them, so I don't really know. I just go off of the size, you know, compared to my hand. But that pond, they fished it for a year more than I have. I fished it for 1 year, this past year. And they fished it the year before and this year and last year with me. So they know a little bit more about it than I do. Well, see, they've been fishing it more than I have, and they've fished it a lot. And they keep telling me about a mystery fish. They kept saying that it was a big fish with a lot of teeth. And they would almost always break off chatterbaits. Chatterbaits and spinnerbaits and swim baits. They get baits back that have huge teeth marks in them after getting hit. And they don't know what it is. Well, I started seeing gigantic swirls on the surface. Like, I'm talking huge. Like, I'm talking big as this room. I'm talking huge. And we started seeing them, and all of a sudden, you know, 10 feet from the bank, you see this giant fish just come up and slam a big shad. And then one day, we were fishing, and all of a sudden, my cousin, Big Bait Baker, using a Magnum square bill crankbait, hooks into something. And he's using a big rod. He's using a Berkley big game rod, which is made for muskies and monster catfish. And a big bait caster. I think he's using a Cast King Royale or whatever, Legend Royale or whatever it's called. And he was using some pretty big braid and a wire leader. That fish broke the wire leader. It hit, and he swung on it, and I seen that rod go like that a couple times, and all of a sudden it just gone. Just like that. It broke the snap swivels on the wire leader. Now, these are wire leaders that are meant to be fished for big fish, obviously. And it broke the wire leader. So we kept fishing there, and we would see these huge swirls, and we'd never get them to bite. Or if we did, the bait would come back with either no tail, or it'd have no bite marks on it or anything. So I've made it sort of a personal mission to catch it. I'm going to catch it. I want to catch it. Now, we have a lot of theories. Now, my cousin, Bob, is the only person to have actually seen it with his own eyes. We've always seen, like, big splashes, and we've seen it eat birds and stuff. We've never actually seen what it is. Now, he says it's a pike or a muskie. Either one of those would be a bucket list fish for myself. I've never caught one. I've never even seen one other than, like, replicas up on the wall at Bass Pro. It could be a pike, muskie, could be a gator gar, or it could be something else that we don't even know. It's something very big. He said that he's seen muskies before, and he says it's somewhere in the range of 50 inches. Possibility. Now, if that's a pike, that's a monster pike. Even if it's a muskie, it's a monster muskie. Now, gator gar, they get bigger than that. They get like 7 feet, 8 feet. Muskies and pike obviously don't get that big, but, a 50-inch muskie around here is, a muskie around here is pretty much unheard of, but something that big, living that close to town, it's actually in town, that would be a huge catch. And we know it eats shad, we know it eats bait fish, So I've started accumulating slowly big bass baits. Now this bait here, we're going to show you guys the main arsenal of baits that I've started collecting to try to catch this fish. Now these two, actually it's just mainly this one here that I'm getting ready to show you. I bought this for bass. I didn't buy this because of that fish. I bought it because of bass, and that is the River to Sea S-Waver 168. Now this bait here I'm a little bit more protective of because it is 17 bucks, almost $18. And I'm a little bit more protective of it. I don't want to really throw it in that pond, but if I think it could get me bit and if I feel gutsy enough, I will throw it because I want to catch that fish. Also, before I start even going through, the main setups that I'm going to be going after this fish with is my new Abu Garcia rod and reel combo. I've got 20-pound mono on it, and I will be fishing 90% of these big baits with wire leaders. And I will also be throwing it with my frog rod. Throwing one of these baits with my frog rod with 65-pound braid and probably still a wire leader, just because I don't want to break the fish off. Now, 20-pound line is a little bit gutsy, but I think that because of the area that it's in, I'm not really worried about it getting in a brush pile and breaking off because there's not a whole lot of brush piles. I think if I can force it to stay close to the surface, we should be all right. But, you know, I've seen people catch some pretty big fish on pretty light lines, so, you know, whatever. River to Sea S-Waver 168 is a 6 1/4 inch bait, so I'm pretty excited about that. Next bait, now I bought this midway through last year. I kind of bought it because I wanted to see the quality of fish in that pond, and I also bought it just because I thought it was pretty cool and pretty cheap. It's a $10 bait, and it's a 7-inch glide bait. Now, obviously, I've upgraded the hooks because the hooks on it were pretty easy bendable. But this is a 7-inch shad glide bait. I also have a 5-inch bluegill bait, but I didn't bring that out because it's an awfully small bait, and I wanted to make this video kind of more about the bigger ones. So the next bait that I have that I'm really excited about throwing this year, especially in that pond, because I'm going to be throwing it with a treble hook instead of just a single 12-aught, or excuse me, 10-aught owner hook. I'm actually going to be throwing this with a treble hook setup with a nail weight in the belly, and that is the 6-inch Dock's Lure Company swim bait. I've been talking about this a lot more lately. I'm really excited about it. I'm mainly going to be throwing white and green pumpkin. I might mix and match some other colors. Now, I know that you guys may remember that video I did at that pond a while back where my cousin Bob actually caught a 9-pound channel cat on 6-pound line. When they brought that fish back home and filleted it, there was not only a giant crawfish, but there was also a 10-inch long bass in that fish's mouth. Now, I'm not going to really go after any catfish with these baits. I mean, if I hook one, I wouldn't be too mad about it. But the fact that catfish was eating bass kind of let me know that even you know, crazy fish like catfish will eat bass. And if a catfish will, I would not be surprised if a muskie or pike or whatever that fish is would eat a bass too. So I think next time I do go fishing there, I'll probably have a baby bass color, a white, and a green pumpkin just to kind of imitate a shad, bluegill, and a baby bass. So I'm pretty excited about throwing this as well. Next bait that I have quite a few actually. There's a lot more baits now than there was at the beginning of last year, that's for sure. 130 Whopper Plopper. You know, obviously it started out as a muskie bait. When the dude who created the Whopper Plopper first started, it was a muskie bait, and then all of a sudden it became a big bass bait, and they caught a lot of bass on them. I have two 130s. One is in this loon color, and I got a bone colored one. So I'm definitely going to be throwing these quite a good bit this year. Pretty excited about that. Whopper Ploppers are known as muskie baits. I mean, they are muskie baits. You know, people use them for bass, but they're known as muskie and pike baits. So I wouldn't be too surprised if I did get some pretty mean blow-ups on that. Even if it is from a bass, I would be a-okay with that. Next thing, obviously muskies and pike are drawn to big, flashy, moving baits, and this here is the biggest spinnerbait I own, other than that one, which is a muskie bait, but it's a old muskie spinnerbait, which I don't really want to fish it because of how old it is. I googled it, and it's a pretty darn old bait, like back in the 80s and 70s, so I don't really want to fish with that, but I have pretty much the next best thing at this thing. This is a Strike King bottom dweller is what this is. This is a 1 ounce blue shad colored spinnerbait. It's got some monster sized blades on it. And my favorite trailer for when I'm going after fish with a spinnerbait, I got a 4/0 hook on the back, plus the main hook. So if something does take a swipe at it, it should be able to get at least one of the hooks. Spinnerbaits are known as good muskie and pike baits as well, so, you know, whatever, I'll definitely throw this. Next thing we got is a chatterbait. So like I said a second ago, they broke off a ton of chatterbaits. I'm talking a lot of them. And I've kind of beefed this one up. This is actually a 1/8 ounce chatterbait, but if you look, it's actually like a clear shad color. But I've got a trailer hook on it. 4/0, same trailer hook as I got on the spinnerbait. 4/0 giant trailer hook, plus the big hook that's already on it. And the trailers that I'm actually going to use with this may surprise you. I'm actually going to use a 6-inch Docs Lure Company swim bait on the back of it. I might be crazy. Crazy works, though. I've always been told that. I might be crazy, but crazy works. You know, just look at the guy who caught the big bass on the Whopper Plopper. Everybody's probably told him, you know, that's a musky bait, you ain't gonna catch no bass on it. Well, he's been catching bass a long time on that thing, and millions of other people have as well. So I'm gonna throw a 6-inch swim bait on the back of this tiny little 1/8 ounce chatterbait. The reason why I went with an 1/8 ounce instead of a 1/4 or a half is just because of the size of the trailer I'm gonna be throwing. You know, I don't really want to have a full 1/2 ounce chatterbait plus, you know, that giant soft plastic on the back. That would be a lot of unneeded weight, I think. I think going with a smaller weight chatterbait and a bigger trailer could possibly help a little bit. And trailer hooks, I'm obviously going to be throwing trailer hooks on anything that I'm throwing out there. The next bait, which I don't know about this one here is kind of a... It's kind of a wild card. It could catch a monster muskie. It could catch a big bass, too. It could catch just about anything, honestly. And that is the 12-inch ribbon tail Wrangler worm by Docs Lure Company. This bait, mainly, the reason why I put this in the category is I want to reel it across the surface like a snake. Now, I already know that this fish will eat birds and will eat giant shad. And, I mean, it'd probably eat a snake pretty darn easy. And this would be a good meal for it, you know, 12-inch snake, and big bass would definitely munch on this thing. Probably, I'll probably throw it more in like a black or a white, just because I've heard that those are the main 2 colors for muskie. This here is actually Junebug, which, who knows, you know, that could work. I don't know anymore. I'm not a muskie fisherman, but I want to catch one because I can. You know, I can try to, and if I do, then that's awesome. And then, obviously, this thing here, the brand new Strike King Mega Dog. I'm really excited about this thing. This is in blueback herring color, so I'm pretty darn excited about this thing. Ow! There's a hook in my hand. 2 hooks in my hand, actually. That hurt. But I'm pretty excited about this, considering how much luck I've had on other walking baits. I've had a lot of luck with the original. You know, the original 3-hook design Sexy Dog. I've had tons of luck with this thing. This thing is probably one of my favorite baits overall. It's an awesome bait, but this monster version of it, I mean, look at the difference. That is a humongous difference. I can't wait to throw it. The very first time that the water is unthawed out at my pond, I'm going to be throwing this thing. And you're darn sure I'm going to be making a video on it too, because I'm really freaking excited about this thing. I don't even know how I'm going to throw it or what I'm going to throw it on. I don't know if I'm going to throw it on my braid rod or my 20-pound mono rod. Ow, there's another hook in my finger. Okay, well, I'm going to start holding it from the top now since I won't be able to get a hook in me that way. But I'm pretty darn excited about it. So, yeah. So if you have any muskie experience, I know a few of my subscribers are muskie fishermen. Let me know if any of these baits that I just mentioned in this video would work for muskie. Let me know down in the comments, because honestly, I am going into a totally new zone of fishing with this stuff. Now, obviously, actually all of this stuff is bass lures, so I could catch a monster bass too. But I'm really hunting for that big muskie or pike or whatever that mystery fish is. I've been targeting it for about a half a year. The last half of the year, I was really trying to catch that big fish, and I was unable to. So I want to now, though. I'm going to go into it. I'm obviously going to do a lot of bass fishing too. I'm not just going to fish with these big baits. I'm obviously going to fish with smaller stuff. You know, I'm not just going to only fish with this big stuff, but I will try to fish with this bigger stuff a little bit more. And I, honestly, the only reason I got this thing, well, there's many reasons I got this thing. Because it's a gigantic topwater bait, number one. Number two, I could catch a gigantic fish on it. Number three, I mean, why not, right? I mean, look at that thing. It's huge. I don't even know what to say about it. Now, sadly, I wasn't able to get the color I wanted. I wanted to get the natural shad color, which is what this one here is in. The natural shad. But they don't have the natural shad because this bait was in such popular demand as soon as it came out. They were gone. I had that bait on the watch list for probably, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, waiting for them to get new ones in, and they never did. So I was like, you know what? I got the money. Let's put the hammer down and buy it. I think it was like 14 bucks almost, just under 14 bucks. So I think it'll be pretty cool. Even if I just get like 4 or 5 blow-ups on it, I think it's going to be awesome because I think whatever's going to try to hit this is probably going to be pretty big. But it could be like the first fish I ever caught on a Super Spook made by Heddon. I caught a fish that was smaller than the bait itself. On my very first cast with a Heddon Super Spook, I actually caught a fish that was smaller than the spook itself. So, you know, it could be something like that. I could catch, you know, 10 inchers on that bait and never get a bite from a muskie or a giant bass. I don't know. You never know. That's what I like about fishing. So I hope you guys like this video. If you do, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, any muskie anglers that have caught muskie before, muskie or pike, chain pickerel too. I know some people fish for those. Chain pickerel, just like small pike, from what I understand. They're kind of the same mentality. So anything that you have that could help me, let me know. I already got wire leaders. They're right here. These are 30-pound heavy-duty wire steel leaders made by Eagle Claw. From what I understand, they're pretty decent. Those are not the wire leaders that broke the fish on the first place. But I also think that he tried to horse that fish just a little bit too much, and that might have been why he broke the wire leader as he did. But thank you guys for watching once again. Thank you guys once again. I already said that, so yeah, bye.